Today we're going to talk about something that I experienced over the years of fishing with forward-facing sonar is figuring out how bass react differently to certain techniques. And I haven't found this anywhere on the internet, anywhere. Only in conversations. And that's why I want to open it up to you guys and kind of let you on into, kind of like the bass behavior that I found through fishing with forward-facing sonar. The first thing I want to talk about is the drop. And, back in 2007, 2008, I was traditionally fishing a drop shot, shaking it constantly on slack line. Just shake, 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 reel it up, move the bait, drag the bait, making sure I stay on the bottom as consistent as I can with the drop shot. And then once I reach to maybe 5 feet closer to me, I'll shake it again on slack line, right? So I'm not saying that these tactics or this strategy is something that doesn't work. I think in some scenarios it may work, depending on the pressure of the fishery. But what I found out was crazy is that if I drop my drop shot, and I call it the drop reaction, and you just observe it through all these shorts and like content where you see a Texas rig drop on someone on a bass, and all of a sudden they just turn around, they nose down, and they eat it. And I thought, why don't I do the same exact thing with the drop shot? So now I don't have to cast out, drag, shake on slack line. I can emulate what I've seen on all this content, wired to fish, tactical bass, and they drop a bait. The fish are looking one way. They fill it through their lateral line. They turn around and they nose down. They eat it, right? So why don't I do this on live scope, right? Why don't I do this on forward-facing sonar? So if I see a mark close to bottom, let's just say it's post-spawn or something. There's a big brush pile. One fish is staged up to a brush pile near a drain. Pitch it towards it, falls down, fish noses down on it, eats it, right? Not even imparting any movement. What I discovered there is that the fish were reacting off the drop. Not off of the shake, but off the drop. And I'm not saying the shake doesn't work. I'm saying that the drop technique is something that's so underrated. We do it constantly when we flip and pitch. Why are we doing something different when we do drop shot? When we're drop shotting, we're either casting out to a fish or pitching to a fish, right? It sinks down. Why do we have to impart that shaky shake movement, In some cases, some people flip and pitch and shake a little bit, but primarily when you flip and pitch and punch, you're pitching it there or you're flipping it there. You're letting it drop. In some cases, I'll let it drop, reel back up, and pitch to the next place. There's some scenarios where I'll pitch and I'll raise the bait up, let it drop slowly, raise the bait up, let it drop slowly, raise the bait up, right? That's just causing it to raise and slowly drop, raise and slowly drop. Now, if I'm fishing a drop shot, I'll let that bait drop and I'll wait 5 seconds. I'll have it on semi-slack line and I'll have my other hand holding the line to see if it jumps or not. If I don't feel anything, I'll reel up, see if I feel pressure. If I don't feel anything, I take my rod and I sweep it from 9 to 12. And that'll make my drop shot bait move over the cover about 5 feet, right? So it'll move over the cover 5 feet. And what I also notice is that I call it the redrop. So you pick it up after the initial drop, you bring it over the cover. Let's just say a fish is inside the cover, maybe 5 to 10 feet away from your bait. He didn't feel in your lateral line. He didn't feel it, or she didn't feel it in his or her lateral line. Obviously, you want to raise it up, and let that bait drop again. And what that does is, if the bass is here and the bait rises over its head and drops over here, that fish is going to come, inspect it, and then eat it. So I call it the drop redrop technique, where you're not necessarily shaking it, you're just letting it drop, let it rest for about 5 seconds, pick it up, raise it up, let it drop, let it rest for 5 to 10 seconds, pick it up, let it redrop 5 to 10 seconds, and then pick it up, right? So a lot of people like to overwork, impart too much action in the roboworm. So this roboworm right here is the ticket, right? It's probably the number one finesse worm out there, period. You know, like that movement, you know, these are hand poured. And so they impart their own action, especially if you use light line. And, you know, my recommendation, always go like 6 to 8 pound tests when you're getting 10 feet visibility, 9 feet visibility. That'll allow, when that fish inspects that bait, that will allow that bait to impart as much natural reaction as possible. Now, if the water's stained, if it's in grass, sparse grass, or if it's stained, let's just say 1 to 4 feet visibility, I'll move up to 10 to 15 pound, 10 to 16 pound test on a drop shot. The primary weights I like to go for is usually 3/8 ounce. If you're flipping really shallow, I'll go 1/4. And if the fish are really finicky and I really want to fill each and every single tick, I'll use an 1/8 ounce. But, you know, primarily I want to just not waste time. I want to cast out there or pitch out there with a 3/8 ounce, drop on the fish or drop right next to the structure, and then raise and redrop. So the drop, raise, and redrop technique. All right, so that's not a lot of people are talking about it. I just want to put that out there. There's going to be another video that I'm going to put out. It's going to be called, you know, the drop, redrop, and the horizontal reaction. So there's two tactics that I use going into tournament fishing. All right, and that'll be in the next video. I won't go into it too deep, but in the next video you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's gonna be the horizontal action versus the vertical action. So there's 2 ways that fish react, right? I mean, they react many different ways, but there's 2 different ways, and I'd like to keep it simple that way. It's either you're doing something that's reactive on a horizontal level, right? Keeping it above their heads, right? Just whether if it's mid-strolling, jerkbait, whatever, right? I'm keeping things stupid simple. Horizontal action, drop, and redrop. If you just keep it down to those things, you're going to do so well in tournament fishing. If you apply this and apply the other things that I'm going to be talking about in the future, I'm talking about finding where the population is in the lake, figuring out if it's the number one, the top 10 lakes in the United States or not, because that's a deciding factor too. Because if it doesn't belong in the top 10 lakes in the United States and it's not a heavily populated lake with bass, well, good luck, because you are really needing all those days of practice to figure out where they are. Okay. and you know, I'm going off stretch here. I'm going off a tangent, but we're gonna break. I'm gonna try to break down my experience and my success in kayak tournament fishing, and I'm gonna share it with you guys. So stay tuned and watch out for the next video. It's gonna be horizontal and vertical presentations and why you need to keep it that simple. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. I'll talk to you guys later.